Hello, this is Andy again here, Andy Evans, on how to make a guitar. On the last podcast, I was cutting through 55mm mahogany on the bandsaw. Actually, I'd routed it down 15mm, and I was struggling to cut through it on this €100 bandsaw. But eventually, with some jiggery pokery, I routed and eventually I cut it out. So this is where I'm up to at the moment. I've started carving the front, as you can see, just by hand with a rasp and a plane, simple as that. On the last podcast I also talked about routing this down a little, just to help with the carve, which I did. I don't know if you can see that. The first cut is 15mm deep, second cut was about 8mm, 5mm, 3mm, just to speed up the carving process, you know. And basically the way you carve it, clamp it to the bench like this. Let's find a clamp. Just like that. And I use a hand plane like that, just like that, across the grade. It's quicker normally. At the moment it's going to rip it up and make it rough and things like that, but I'm not too concerned. You know, it's going to get sanded with rust sandpaper, machine sanded. It's going to be rasped. Use a cabinet scraper maybe at the end. So that's the next thing that I'm going to do. I'm going to carve the front out, and then after that we're going to route out a neck pocket here, some holes for the pickups, and decide where the controls for the volume, tone and such like are going to go. This is quite a thick guitar really. I'm going to put EMG 81s on it, which are a split coil, so you get like a Stratocaster sound, and you also get humbucker Gibson type sound, you know. It splits into two, the humbucker. The volume pot on it is quite deep, so I need a deep control hole at the back here. I'm also going to carve the back as well and make it a bit more ergonomic and, you know, nice and a bit lighter as well. And maybe, I don't have any I'm going to put a veneer on it, maybe a fancy veneer on the top, maybe, or I'm not quite sure yet, but we'll decide that at a later date. Okay, so this is how you carve it. Just with a plane like this. Put my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. Always good. As I say, this can be quite quick, you know. I can carve this in 10 minutes, it's finished, you know. So basically you play around with this until you're happy with it. You can use your rasp on the middle sections here, and on the horn area here, use your rasp here. Eventually you get a nice carve, and I would finish off with a sanding machine with a foam back support in the middle, which I'll show you next time. I also just want to show you something quickly that I made last week to trim the edges. Sometimes I use a router on a homemade routing table. This pokes out the table like this, and your pattern follows the bearing there. I actually don't like doing it that way because I find it quite noisy. It's a bit dangerous. 35 years ago, when I used to work for Gordy Guitars of Gordon Whitten of Gordon Smith fame, we had a lovely belt sander, a vertical belt sander, about 1.5 meters long. We had a bearing underneath that followed the pattern, so it was fantastic. So I thought I'd try and replicate that today with this. And basically, a couple of days ago, I made a little belts on, I made a vertical belt sander using this. So basically this is a Ryobi belt sander, quite a beefy one, €200 belt sander. So you start with a piece of wood like this. You screw this to your bench, which I'll do now, very well, right near the edge so you can clamp it. That's on the bench. Then I made this little piece of wood. This is the same shape as the belt sander. If you look here, it's the same same shape as that round edge there, you see? Okay, so this gets screwed on next onto here, like this. I've lined it all up ready to go. Bang a couple of screws in. Done. Then the belt sander goes like this. This is flush. This little piece of wood at the bottom here is radiused, and it's flush with this radius here. So I put that right on there, exactly on flush like this. I find my clamp. It's a little bit wobbly, so I would put a wedge under here. And you have to make sure it's 90 degrees at the end, so clamp that up. There you go, that moved. That's okay. Clamp it nice and tough, nice and well. Maybe it's worth just putting a little mark or tape here. Just, you don't want this coming loose, you'll clamp halfway through the job, so I'm going to put a piece of tape there. If that moves, that tape, I know this is coming loose. I don't have to touch it again. And that's it basically. You screw your pattern to the guitar like this. This is screwed onto there. Turn this on. You can attach a vacuum cleaner here, which helps. And basically, I don't know if you can see this. Let me just move the camera slightly. It follows the pattern underneath the guitar, the belt sander. So you would push. Normally I go clockwise, and you would push this way like this against that. This piece of wood at the bottom follows the pattern. So what you end up with is a copy of your pattern. So I'm very happy with that. I prefer to use that than a router table, you know, or by hand with a router. Also, it gets rid of the dust. You attach a vacuum cleaner, gets rid of the dust. So that's my little tip of the day. Before you use it, always make sure it's square. This edge here, you know, check it with a square edge. Make sure it's square. Well, that's square. That's okay. Okay. So going back to the 80s, when I worked with Gordon Whitten and John Smith. We improvised. We made lots of our own tools and machines, and we started with everything was done by hand. When I first started in 1982, all the frets were marked out by hand, all the necks were carved by hand. Eventually, as demand increases, we started making our own machines and speeding things up a bit. I mean, you know, there's this debate about doing things by hand or by machine, but most guitars are normally finished off by hand or checked by hand, you know. So I can do it both ways. I can do it all by hand, or I can make machines to speed the process up. So maybe in the future you'll see some of these little machines that we designed and stuff. For instance, we used to have one machine that carved the fingerboards, 12-inch radius at the body, 10-inch at the neck. It'd do 12 necks in an hour. So you could turn it on, have your lunch, come back, and you'd have 12 fingerboards all radiused. And then after that we had another machine that cut the fret slots on the 12 necks. Turned it on, came back, 12 necks with all the fret slots cut, radiused, 2 hours total. By hand, that would take me 20 hours, 20, a bit longer maybe, you know. So sometimes using machines is quite a good thing. Alright, that's it for this week. I will do my next podcast. When this is carved, I will do a podcast for the next lot and the pickup cavities and the controls. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.